Nowadays, many relationships face hardships, but the question is, why? What is the secret to a fulfilling relationship? In this video, you will learn the number one reason why many men and women end up breaking up, and what you can do to keep a happy and lasting relationship. So stay tuned, see you in a moment. Hello and welcome back to Manifesting Miracles with Davide and John, bringing you another episode that might just revolutionize your approach to relationships. Let's be honest, we have all been there, right? Entering into a new relationship with high hopes only to see it crumble before our eyes. It happens. But have you ever stopped to think if it might be because of something within you? You know, often when we step into a new relationship, our focus primarily rests on assessing if the other person is worthy of us. Okay, this is a tendency that we can see many times. So this means that instead of reflecting on what we need to heal from our past, for example, and what we need to improve about our personality, and also what we need to bring to the table to help the relationship survive, we just instead focus on what can our partner do to make us happy. In reality, the secret to a lasting, fulfilling relationship lies not in finding the perfect person, but in the reciprocal decision to embark on a personal journey, to become the best version of ourselves. Right, John?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, see, the magic actually happens when we start reflecting on what we bring to the table. I know we don't like that terminology, bring to the table, but it's true. How can we heal? How can we grow? How can we help the relationship flourish? It's less, again, like David was saying, about finding this perfect person and more about you and I and all of us becoming the best version of ourselves so that the right soulmate is attracted into our reality. Remember that one of the foundations of the manifestation process is to be before you have and you do. Okay, so for today, I want everybody to grab a notebook or your smartphone if you find it easier to work that way, because we are going deep today. We're going to start by making a list of the things that you perhaps don't necessarily like about yourself. I know it's yucky. It might be your insecurities, maybe a bit of egocentric behavior, or even a reluctance to initiate meaningful conversations. Let's face it, we all have issues. And look, this is not about self-criticism. No, it's about fostering self-awareness. So let's start by exploring these one by one. The first one we're going to talk about is insecurities. These can sometimes dictate how we perceive and respond to our partner's actions, often causing unnecessary tension. And I'm guilty of that. And today, I want to open up about something very personal to me. Something that I've realized really plays a significant role in the dynamics of my past relationships, and it still shows up in my current relationship. You see, there was a time in my life, like a rather painful period in my life, where my insecurities had an iron grip over me. It was all over me. My self-esteem was deeply intertwined with my body image. People who know me know I've been fighting this battle of weight loss for at least the last 25 years. I felt constantly scrutinized, caught under the merciless eyes of society's expectations and judgments of how I should look. I used to dress myself in oversized clothes just to shield myself from what people would say about me, people's judgments. And this unfounded fear bred this paranoia, a type that not only consumed my of self-worth, but really began to eat away at my happiness in relationships. I remember constantly being plagued by thoughts that I was undeserving of love because of my size, that my partner would inevitably be drawn to someone else more attractive, someone slimmer, more in line with what society perceives as beautiful. So this played out in every text he will send, every glance he will do. I perceived that as a sign of infidelity, and this was proof of my unworthiness of being in a relationship. But let me tell you, it was all a mirage. It was all a self-created illusion that had me spiraling down in a rabbit hole of self-doubt, anxiety. I was constantly sabotaging potentially beautiful moments because I was here spinning in my own head, turning every little thing into a battlefield, accusing constantly, and a lot of tears, as you can imagine. It took a journey of self-discovery and self-love to realize that my value wasn't determined by my appearance, that I was deserving of love and affection just as I would. Look, I've lost some weight, so that's all good. But my self-love is no longer tied to how I look. It was a hard-earned realization, and it came with a lot of me having to shed all these layers of insecurities and learning to really stand tall and really just embrace myself wholeheartedly the way I am. So I share this with you not because I want sympathy, no, but this is my own truth, and this is a truth that a lot of us might be reluctant to face. The battles we fight in relationships are echoes of the internal battles within us, the insecurities that we have and we fail to address. So, that notepad, in your notepad, okay, I want you to be honest with yourself and answer the question: what are all the insecurities that you currently have that are sabotaging you and your relationships? Sit with that question and just start to write it down. It might be a long list, but that's fine. We're not judging you, but you need to write it down.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Insecurities are, in my opinion, one of the most diffused reasons that can really impact our relationships. Also because insecurities are connected with our ego, right? So, and our ego is constantly in search of protection and security, so that it's very, very tricky. Now, a second reason why many relationships are ending is also because there are egocentric tendency, okay? So it's important to remember that being overly focused on yourself, on ourselves, can actually hinder your ability to empathize with your partner, okay? And also open a line of communication, because the communication is really, really important in a couple. So egocentric mindset can have multiple expressions. For example, could lead to a lack of empathy. When you are overly self-centered, it can be challenging to empathize with your partner, okay? So for example, it happens to me too. When we go home after a stressful work day, it's easy to be sucked in our thoughts, okay? Sucked by our thoughts. It happens to me, as I said, I come back home, maybe I had an argument with my colleague, or maybe there was a behavior from our boss that I didn't like it, I still think about it, and I get home maybe a little bit stressed, and I forget to ask, Joan, how are you? You know, my love, how are you? How was your day? And this is really, really important, because not only when you come home, you have to see the couple as a moment in which you can recharge, actually, mentally and emotionally, right? At the same time, when you do that, I also encourage Joan to now ask about my day, right? And that is an opportunity for me maybe to share my concerns or my feelings, how the day went. So it's very, very important, I think, to remember that empathize it's a crucial element in a fulfilling relationship. Another example could be, for example, let's imagine that your partner is going through a challenge at work, like I said, or maybe he or she has an argument with a friend. Are you concerned about how she feels? Do you ask how is it going? How do you feel? Did you have an opportunity maybe to clarify your argument with your friend or with your colleague? This is really important because, as I said, this first opens a line of communication, which is so important. And also, again, I repeat, because it's also for me has been recently a learning opportunity, you also encourage your partner to do the same. Okay, so you create a safe space where both of us can share our experiences, our daily routine, and so on. Another form of expression of egocentric behavior is the difficulty in finding a compromise. Okay, you have an argument, you have a conversation, a discussion about something, and you find difficult to, let's say, accept, for example, that maybe the other person, your partner, may be right. Maybe your partner may have a better perspective of that subject, right? This is again connected with the ego, right? This tendency that I don't want to admit that I am wrong, or I don't. Why are you laughing? Or you don't want to admit that, you know, the perspective of your partner is actually makes more sense, I would say, right? So again, healthy relationships often require a compromise. It's about finding a middle ground where both partners' needs are met. Okay? So, however, a self-centered mindset can make it also difficult to compromise because you may be more inclined to prioritize your own desires, your own interests above all else. And this can lead to conflicts and disagreements. Okay, it happened to me too sometime, and again, it's important to keep an open mind and to self-reflect, to be able to identify your egocentric behavior, our egocentric behavior, and to correct it right away. That's very, very important. So remember, your partner has their own set of emotional, physical, and relational needs, right? So if you are too wrapped up in your own world, you might unintentionally neglect your partner's needs. So over time, this can lead to feelings of neglect or unfulfillment in the relationship. So let me ask you, what are some of your own egocentric habits that you are able to identify? How many times, for example, you go back home and ask your partner, "Hi honey, how was your day?" Or "How did it go with your boss?" Try to make the interest in your partner become an habit, because you will see, I guarantee you, an enormous improvement in the relationship with your spouse. Also because she will be encouraged to reciprocate.
Yes.
What do you think, John?
I completely agree. And I hope that all of you are taking down notes and really asking yourselves some of these pertinent questions that we're asking. Today's session is all about self-introspection and awareness. So now I'm going to talk about another important aspect of sustaining a healthy relationship. Davide already kind of touched on that, and that's communication. This is often termed as the cornerstone of any successful relationship, and for good reason. You know, I'll admit that it hasn't always been my strongest suit. It still isn't, never was, never will be. I don't know. I keep working at it on a daily basis. But there was a time in my life when my attempts at being brutally honest were just brutal. So it wasn't so much about the honesty part of it, it was that the delivery was very, very brutal. And this was a stinging critique from a past partner him saying that jolted me into realizing that perhaps my method of communication was just, it was not just hindering the relationship, but it was also causing this unintentional hurt for the other person. Through my journey, I realized that we often approach conversations with preconceived notions, with rose-colored glasses, filters, colored by our past traumas and our experiences. And these filters kind of distort the real message. So it's often causing the other person to react in a way that we don't expect because we've delivered it in a not so great way. I had a lot of work to do. I still do.
She does.
And today I want to share with you two people that have really helped me, trust me, on this journey of communication. And it's Danette May and Brene Brown. They've read two wonderful people. I've read their books. The wonderful technique by Danette May about having complete conversations really taught me how to pause, breathe, and not to let my triggers dictate the flow of the conversation, where I make sure that I say everything in its entirety, not just a piece of it without context, and I just vomit this very bitter hash truth in a way that it doesn't really paint a complete picture of what it is I'm trying to express. Because most times the expression is how I'm feeling, not so much what you did or what I want you to do. So Danette May's complete conversation really, really teaches that. Another thing I learned in Brene Brown's book, she's a wisdom when it comes to the realm of effective communication, but she advocates for a method where rather than just lashing out and just say, "How could you say that?" you focus on what you're hearing. So it is when someone does or say something that you don't like, rather than say, "How could you do that? I can't believe you said that to me," it is, "What I'm hearing you say is blah, blah, blah." Because again, we filter these things based on our past traumas. If someone says, are you okay? You start hearing because of a past relationship, oh, there's something wrong with you, you're annoying, oh, I wish I was with somebody else. We tell ourselves all these stories. So just clarifying by saying what I'm hearing you say, or expressing it in a way that the person can now complete what it is they're trying to say and not just focus or react based on your emotions, is an easy way that creates this space where misunderstandings can kind of be untangled and conversations can be more about understanding rather than winning. So for me, these techniques are not just strategies, but these are tools to foster empathy, understanding, and to build a deeper connection. They teach us to navigate the complexity, because it's not easy, especially with somebody else, the complexity of human interaction with grace and compassion, paving the way for more enriching, fulfilling relationships. So I've admitted that, hey, I'm not great at communication. But again, bring that notepad out again. What are some of your own challenges when it comes to communication? Write them down. Remember, communication is not just about talking, it's about connecting, like truly connecting on a level where the souls are kind of speaking to each other and both of you are able to say exactly what it is that you're trying to communicate.
Yes, absolutely. Communication is so important. And now let's move to the lack of initiative. Lack of initiative is another very important element that you need to handle to create a fun also relationship and getting out from those typical moments of boredom, I would say, especially for a man, right? Not taking initiative in your relationship can make your partner feel unappreciated and not loved. In any relationship, whether romantic or otherwise, active engagement is always vital, right? So when you fail to take initiative, it can come across as passive, being passive and not interested. Your partner may see it like lack of action, may see this lack of action as a sign that you are not fully invested in the relationship. For example, initiating action like planning a surprise date night. Let's say you are going through a moment in the couple where you're both a little bit bored. It can happen, right? Maybe a little bit stressed for many reasons. Why don't you plan a surprise date night? Maybe sending a sweet text, or taking the first step to resolve the conflict that you have with your partner. These little actions demonstrate emotional involvement, okay? Without these proactive efforts, your partner might feel like they are not the only one making an effort to connect emotionally. And again, as a man in particular, I personally feel that lacking initiative can bring to also a loss of romance, right, John? We never, if we never take the time to take an initiative to add romance to the relationship, the romance may dwindle over time, and the other partner may begin to feel that it's not so special. Okay, so it's very important to keep creating those moments that keep the connection fresh and exciting. Okay, so again, consider planning a little surprise, like a special date. Go pick her up at work and take her out for a nice dinner. It's essential to recognize the importance of taking initiative in a relationship, because this, of course, doesn't mean you have to be the one to initiate everything, but healthy relationship involves shared responsibility in nurturing the connection. So let me ask you, what aspect of your relation you are struggling with? Write them down, right? Because writing down is very helpful.
Wow. Well, Davide does take a lot of initiative. I'm just going to be honest.
Thank you, John.
I have to say that. I'm used to being the planner, but he's a planner too, and it's really, I appreciate it. So now we have a list. I hope that you've been taking down the list. Again, remember, this is not about self-criticism. This is more about self-awareness and self-introspection and how you can build yourself and grow so that you don't fall into the bucket of 70% of relationships not even lasting a year, right? So with that long list of things that you have, things that you don't like about yourself, or things that, areas of improvement, questions that you really ask yourself, the questions to remain: how do we stop ourselves from sabotaging our blossoming relationships? Because the reality is 70% of relationships are not making it.
Yeah, you're right. And that's a $1 million question, right, guys? So, yeah, everything starts from the commitment to make it work. But also, again, like we said before, to reflect on yourself, okay? To look at the relationship as an opportunity of also personal growth, okay? To work on those aspects of ourselves coupled with open communication with your partner, asking for their support and giving them a glimpse into your challenges. It's about breaking the cycle of blaming others if the relationship doesn't work. By doing this, not only we are nurturing our own soul, but we also create a fertile ground for a relationship to flourish, one where mutual respect and understanding are the pillars. So we truly hope that this discussion inspires you to identify what are the aspects of yourself you want to change and to change your perspective. Remember, it's a journey of growing together, okay? Of building something beautiful together, brick by brick. And don't forget, we are here to support you, John and I, in your journey, okay? So every week we will publish a video regarding these important topics, because finding your soulmate starts with finding your own self. Okay, right, John?
Yes, absolutely. Finding yourself and nurturing your relationship. So don't forget to catch our videos releasing every Wednesday on relationships at 8 a.m. EST.
Yep.
And we will continue to explore enriching topics about relationships and law of attraction and how you can attract your soulmate too. Until next time, keep manifesting miracles and we'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.
Namaste.